Good day, I'm Oskar Sherlief, and these are the latest news from Kazakhstan. Human rights defender Vadim Kuramshin's attempts to meet the European Parliament members fail as he was arrested for 10 days with petty crime charges. The Constitution of Kazakhstan was celebrated by the fancy military parade. Meanwhile, the human rights defenders recall country's most scandalous political cases in line with the Constitution Day. The Kokshetau City Court had sentenced human rights defender Vadim Kuramshin to 10 days for petty crime. Reportedly, Kuramshin was attacked by two unidentified on August 28th, and police who saw the fight charged him abusing the public order. In the meantime, the activist claims that this was a provocation especially organized in order to isolate him from the media and European Parliament members. Kuramshin was going to report on the situation in Kazakh penitentiary system. The following story has more. The human rights defender Vadim Kuramshin was not able to reach Karaganda. There he had to meet with representatives of the European Parliament. But the day before the meeting, Kuramshin was attacked at Kokshetau station. Immediately after the incident, he was detained and accused in hooliganism. Later on, the attacker Sitsko wrote a complaint to the police. Two witnesses represented by the police were also found with a lightning speed. They will confirm that Kuramshin insulted Sitsko. The court hearing was held on Sunday morning. Kuramshin was arrested for 10 days, and he thinks that this way the authorities are trying to isolate him from the mass media sources. The authorities didn't like his sharp criticism over the situation in the prison. Is it Stalin's purging? This is really a silent terror. Kuramshin arrived to Kokshetau in order to give an interview to one of the Kazakh TV stations about the violation of convicts' rights in the colony located in the Granitny village of Akmola region. The counterclaim of Kuramshin was not accepted for examination, and the medical examination was not held. Immediately after the hearing, Vadim Kuramshin commented on the events over the phone. Yesterday's provocation has a direct connection with this appointed meeting. This way, they have deprived me from reaching the European parliamentarians. The EU MP Joe Higgins and the leader of Social Party of the Great Britain, Peter Taff, have arrived to Karaganda opposed to Kuramshin. Higgins gave a clear message about the incident.
Well, I'm quite shocked that a human rights defender in Kazakhstan, who was coming to meet with an EU delegation, should have been arrested by the police in this way. It's quite clear from the evidence I have heard that he was simply framed and is unjustly and scandalously now in prison.
European politician has emphasized that the incident with Kuramshin on the eve of the Constitution Day is much more testimonial than any reports. Foreign experts judge the situation around Kazakhstan's constitution upon the controversial trials. Their attention is focused on Yevgeny Zhovti's case at the moment. Human rights defenders claim the numerous procedural violations and inobservance of convicts' basic rights. Zhovtis is also supported by the Norwegian Helsinki Committee, which had recently awarded him Andrei Sakharov Freedom Award, which served an expressive hint to Kazakh authorities.
1 year passed since the car accident in the Almaty region. The verdict on the Eugene Zhovtis case was made up a number of falsification and manipulation facts, says the Human Rights Watch Central Asian Division Director Rachel Dembe, who came all the way from New York to attend the arbitrary court and witnessed how the judge had purposefully declined a number of petitions.
Technical expertise that would have shown that the degree to which Zhenya violated or did not violate the driving rules. It would have shown many things in his defense. Zhenya was led to believe that he was a witness to the case and not a suspect.
Human rights defenders demanded the Kazakh authorities to release Zhovtis, then followed the European Union's reaction with the European Parliament resolution, to which the authorities reacted in a specific way. Zhovtis case had showed that all the Kazakh authorities' actions trying to demonstrate the way we live in a civilized society are nothing but a show. Unfortunately, the reality is far not like that. Moreover, other kinds of laws are applied in reality, even though the Constitution guarantees state justice in the courts. After failing the first instance and appellation trials, Zhovtis has only one instance left to appeal to, a supervisory board of the Supreme Court. However, it appears that decisions made by previous instance courts on petty crimes are not reviewed by the mentioned board, and therefore Zhovtis cannot appeal to it. While the law enforcement body reforms are being discussed, even international human rights organizations cannot seek for justice in Kazakhstan.
Zhenya had an excellent defense team. He had a lot of support, and the case was the case had a lot of resonance. And if someone like him can't get a fair trial, it's very hard to imagine how somebody without the resources of Zhenya Zhovtis could have a fair trial.
Eugene Zhovtis' contribution in the human rights field was recognized by the Norwegian Helsinki Committee. Foreign experts suggest that this is another fact to assess the Kazakh authorities' actions and contributions of Zhovtis regarding the human rights issue in the country.
American The Freedom Organization has undertaken the attempts to release another political prisoner, Ramazan Yesergepov. At the moment, a group of lawyers are being formed in Washington to work on this case.
Raushan Yesergepova, a spouse of Ramazan Yesergepov convicted for the disclosure of the state secrets, says that the Constitution Day was a perfect occasion for amnestying not only her husband but also Yevgeny Zhovtis and Mukhtar Jakishev as well. However, she says the authorities have ignored this situation. Under such circumstances, Raushan was forced to refer to American Organization for help. Frankly, I was laying hope that he will be amnestied not only because of the Constitution Day, but it didn't happen, unfortunately. My husband's rights still keep being abused.
Pensioners in Almaty boycotted the celebration of Constitution Day by holding a protest action not far from the official celebration site. A small group of people gathered to speak about the human rights violation situation. In particular, they demanded to raise their pensions and decrease of utility service tariffs. Police asked the gathered people to disperse, however, retired men didn't react. Next report has more.
The protest action of Almaty pensioners was dampened by the celebration of the Constitution Day. Every 30th day of each month, the pensioners enter the Almaty streets with the demands to decrease the utility tariffs and increase the pension. However, for already 8 years, the authorities are ignoring the letters to the head of state and the appeals to the head of the cabinet. Pensioners have hoped to be heard on the Constitution Day. Moreover, the protest action was held right in front of the Astana Square in Almaty, where all the officials and the honored guests have gathered. All of them were invited by the municipal authorities for the celebration of the Constitution Day. President Nazarbayev personally congratulated all the gathered on air. Our constitution became a firm guarantee of stability of ideals of the united society, which is a cradle for the state. Although not all the participants agree with the optimistic speeches. Lydia Zudina was not on the list of invited for the Constitution Day celebrations. She loudly talks about her limited rights as being a war veteran. She receives just $120 of pension. Today is a holiday, but all I have in my purse is just $4, while I have to survive until September 10th. I don't even have money for bread. The police is not allowing the protesters to approach the official celebrations, though it has no ground to disperse the pensioners either. The holiday and the protest side by side will continue for half of the day, until the loud music will damp the dissatisfied murmur.
The main events in celebration of the Constitution were held in Astana, which hosted a military parade attended by the Kazakh Supreme Commander-in-Chief Nursultan Nazarbayev. The parade demonstrated the capacity of the Kazakh army and featured the marches of the ground forces, mechanic column and aero show by the Air Force. Next story tries to examine why the civil holiday was marked with heavy military parade.
For the first time in the history, a women's squadron took part in the military parade. The female soldiers are used rather for psychological attacks, say some observers, even though unlike the male soldiers, they hold the short versions of Kalashnikov gun. Sergeant Simbat Sambekova serves as a field surveyor, strips a weapon quite confidently. We can collect the Kalashnikov gun in just 2 minutes without a mistake. Nursultan Nazarbayev, who was noticeably excited about the event, had outlined that Kazakh army has strong spirit and rich traditions reflected by the constitution. All our previous achievements must serve incentive for our further achievements, which are under the protection of Kazakhstan army, the descendant of the great military traditions of our nation. Kazakhstan has a strong ambition to position itself as a strong nation, says a freelance reporter from Belarus, Nikolai Bredelyev. Back in Belarus, he recalls, parades are held up on 2 occasions only. the Victory Day and Independence Day. The parade anchor said in the text that the constitution must be protected, but protected by what? I guess by demonstrated military achievements. We protect our borders well, we have a good army. It really feels that the military is efficient. The army's mission during the peacetime is to create an impression. The parade commander Murat Maikeyev claims everything went smoothly. Kazakhstan never engaged in wars throughout its history, therefore its main victory is the constitution. 15th anniversary of the Constitution is the intermediate result of our President's political achievements. We became strongest independent state in Central Asia. Economy of Kazakhstan is vastly developing, so is the military efficiency. Apparently, Kazakhstan needs more than just an army in order to provide its citizens human rights, because every civil society implies that all citizens are equal before the law, despite the status and titles.
Municipalities across Kazakhstan celebrated the Constitution Day on their own ways. While the Almaty Mayor's office organized a bicycle race, the city administration of Ust-Kamenogorsk organized a speed race on Ablaketka mountain. Mayors of both mentioned cities took personal part in the event.
More than 500 residents of Almaty took part in the race dedicated to the 15th anniversary of the Kazakh Constitution, including the city mayor Ahmedjan Yesimov. It was also participated by some legendary Kazakh sportsmen such as Europe's champion of freestyle wrestling Abulsi Daykhanov, the Petrel volleyball team trainer Janibek Sauranbayev, international category judge in boxing Serik Abdualiyev, amongst others. Speaking to reporters before a 3 kilometers long race, Almaty city mayor told the following. Constitution is the main law of our country, which was adopted 15 years ago. Many laws regarding our everyday life were developed based upon this constitution, which provides us with peace, welfare, mutual understanding and friendship in our country. In the meantime, Mayor of Ust-Kamenogorsk had organized the speed mountain race for almost 2.5 kilometers. More than 200 residents aged between 11 to 72 years participated in the event. Race winners were awarded prizes on the altitude of 522 meters above sea level of the Albaketka mountain. We'll make this race traditional to Constitution and city anniversaries, and with each year we hope to increase the number of participants. And this will be the first symbolic step of our city achieving the world's highest altitude.
Kazakhstan's miners have celebrated the professional holiday last weekend. During the holiday, workers have also noted that their profession became a deadly one. The sadly statistics indicate how dangerous mining had become in Kazakhstan. Several dozens of miners died during the last 6 years in Karaganda alone. Now the trade union representatives are talking about the necessity to create the Miners Global Forum, through which workers could protect their rights and interests. Next report has more.
Pavel Shumkin decided to consolidate the workers several years ago, even though the authorities do not allow him to organize the forum. It seems quite reasonable why authorities don't rush to let the problems be widely publicized. In Karaganda region alone, for the last 6 years, there were registered 6 major minefield accidents with hundreds of victims. Shumkin is sure that only World Miners Forum can solve these problems. It appears that no one, neither the government nor the parliament, cares about the miners. All what they care about is the economic indicators, so miners have to deal with their problems themselves. A third-generation miner, Maral Nesebeldinov, spends most of his lifetime underground during 33 years of his employment record. Maral says he would not go for mining if he had a chance to start everything over. A miner finds himself confused in current situation, as Maral feels proud and humiliated about his profession at the same time. He lost 2 of his siblings who died during the accidents at the age of 29 and 20. They died so young. We felt we were working for the motherland during Soviet time, but now we work for the private owner, says the miner. Last year alone, Nesebeldinov's squad had mined more than 1 million tons of coal, yet no bonus was paid by the employer. People are in debts as can't pay off the loans, relying on only salary, which is quite low. Maral Nesebeldinov had led the strike committee back in 1989, when one of the major strikes in the history of Karaganda was held. Miners shouldn't be pushed to critical situations, say Maral, especially when their demands are quite doable. People just want the decent compensation for the most difficult job in the world.
This is all for now. Thank you for watching us. See you tomorrow.